Hi, everybody from our YouTube community, and I'm sure this will go everywhere on our social media. But myself, if you haven't heard of me, and you probably haven't, my name is Matthew Lopes. I'm one of the co-owners and CFO here at M7 Group. And our goal with this M7 podcast room is to bring you guys as much value and information as possible during this tax season, but of course, in the tax seasons ahead, and most importantly, throughout the year to have the information you need to be able to maximize your deductions and, of course, save the most amount of money possible in taxes. And I've brought with myself our head of marketing team, and usually it's behind the cameras or behind the desk, making sure we can get all the content out. But he's helping me out with asking important questions that a lot of our clients currently ask us on a daily basis, and even throughout all of our social media platforms that he currently manages on a daily and weekly basis. So I'm going to pass it on to the new zone here from M7, who's going to be asking me a few questions where I'll have the opportunity to share the knowledge with you guys and make sure that you have the information you need to maximize your deductions this tax season and prepare for the year ahead.
Okay, Matthew. Okay, nice to meet you. Matthew, what's the deadline and what happened if I file my tax late? Are there penalties?
That's a great question. And there's a lot of deadlines that you have to worry about, and sometimes it can get confusing. But the main tax deadline that anybody in Canada as a personal individual, you'll be looking out for April 30th, which is going to be your personal taxes deadline. However, if you're self employed, and usually means you have to prepare additional forms and you also had to possibly collect HST on your services. You do have until middle of June to file your taxes, but a lot of people confuse this. You have until middle of June to file your taxes. It does not mean you have until June to pay your taxes. So if you owe money as a sole proprietorship, self-employed, you have your own business, your side gig, maybe an online business that you started, you still have to pay your tax bill by the end of April, and then you're able to file your taxes by June as somebody who's sole proprietorship or self-employed, which in theory means the same thing if you've heard both terms. But always keep April 30th in mind. And most importantly, if you are an HST filer, typically your annual filer, but depends on your revenue as well. But this can be due in March or it can be due in June. It really depends on your filing frequency. So April 30th for your taxes, and if you owe taxes, June 15th if you're self-employed and need to file your taxes. But you also have the component of GST, HST that could be due at the end of March, sometimes till June if you're an annual filer as self-employed.
Okay, for explaining to us. And I have another the most important the most common question is, does the CRA have access to my bank account?
That's a great question, and a lot of our clients often think the CRA have access, and the truth is that ourself, meaning Canada, and also Switzerland, are one of the two countries that do not have access to the taxpayer's bank account. Now, it does not mean they don't have the ability to garnish your account or put blockages on your account if you are non-compliant with the CRA for a long period of time. A lot of people get scared. They're going to block my account. I can't be using a bank account. They never have access to your bank account, but make sure you stay compliant with the CRA so that they never get to the point of garnishing and blocking your account. And of course, never allow yourself to get in an audit and not comply with the audit with the CRA, because then they can move into the process of not gaining access to your bank account, but it will get to a point where either you pay the fines or you have supporting documentation to help you with an audit, which typically means bank statements. So not necessarily will access your bank account, but they will still need to access your PDFs, your bank statements, to be able to prove yourself right against the CRA or any institution for that matter.
Oh, okay, thanks. And another one, because we are in tax season, and this question is for personal tax. How do I know if I need to file a tax return in Canada?
It's a great question, and a lot of people that are recently immigrating into Canada, and if you are, welcome. We've all been there. The Nilsson himself, myself, we've all immigrated to Canada at some point in time, and it's great to have everybody in Canada at the moment. But to keep things simple, if you have landed in Canada, whether as a student or as an employee, and maybe you're on a work permit, you do have to file your taxes and comply every single year. Even if you arrive towards the end of the year, maybe you didn't even get to the point of having any income. A lot of people say, oh, I didn't work. Why do I need to file taxes? And it's not really a requirement for you to file and pay. People always think of taxes as paying taxes. When you're filing taxes as somebody who just came to Canada and maybe you're unsure, you actually gain a lot of benefits from the government from getting into Canada. Yourself, you've access to Canada Workers Benefit, the GST, HST credits, the Trillium benefits. So all those benefits and credits from the CRA that's given to us as residents and taxpayers are something that we can only access once taxes are filed. So don't always think that taxes means paying. Taxes just means staying compliant, and anybody who has landed in Canada and have a permit, work permit, or even a permanent residency, then you should file taxes for that matter.
Okay, okay. As M7 clients know, we have audit protection for tax return in Canada and the US. In the US, we have every tax return are covered for audit protection, but in Canada, this service is a la carte. Could you explain about this audit protection? What the most risk? What do you can explain for everybody?
Perfect. The audit protection is something we have in place to, in the case of an audit or a CRA review, or in that case, IRS review, you are protected from start to finish. If you're buying a car, they typically say from bumper to bumper. So we're protecting you from the moment we file your taxes, sending it off to the CRA or IRS, and we protect you if any review happens from the CRA or the IRS for that matter. And the purpose that we have this service in place is us as a service business, our biggest asset is time. And if we support everybody without an additional charge for an audit, we're taking the time away from all of our clients. So the reason we have a CRA audit service in place is to be able to give those who do want the peace of mind on their tax filings. We're not talking about mistakes from an accountant. We are 100% liable for any mistakes. We have insurance to protect ourselves from any mistakes. We're talking about somebody who wants the peace of mind against any reviews of the CRA, which is not meaning mistakes. It just means the CRA wants additional information. So typically, if you're somebody who's new to Canada, you are going to be expecting a review from the CRA the first year you file taxes, and that's because they want more information on your worldwide income. It always happens every single year. So the audit protection saves you the ability to be able to contact M7 as an accounting firm, represent you with CRA, and not have to pay our hourly rates of $125 per hour, which an audit could cost up to $400 or $500 from a taxpayer. So our goal with the audit protection is to cut the cost down to a quarter and be able to still support our community to be able to have access to that service, have the peace of minds, and know that we're there to support them every step of the way if an audit does happen.
Okay, Matthew. What triggers a tax audit, and how can audit protection help minimize the impact?
What triggers an audit? And a lot of things can trigger an audit, but what doesn't trigger an audit or helps you avoid triggering an audit is making sure you stay compliant all year long. So, as long as you file your taxes on time and you file them correctly, there should not be any triggers from the CRA. On audits, like I briefly mentioned before, if you are a newcomer, the worldwide income typically triggers a review. It triggers an audit because the CRA doesn't have enough information from the moment you landed in the country and how much income you've had from other sources before you came into Canada. So that always triggers an audit, but it doesn't mean a mistake was done. There's nothing that you can do to avoid the audit from happening. They necessarily need the information when you do land in Canada and you're a first time filer. But aside from that, non compliance typically triggers an audit because now you've put a red flag on yourself that you're not staying compliant, or maybe you're reporting things on your taxes that you shouldn't be reporting. So, having a team like ourselves, we're able to help everybody maximize deductions, but do it the right way and legally so that there's no red flags from the CRA. And if we do think there will be red flags, we let you know before the taxes are even filed. So everybody is on the same page. So it's not necessarily a trigger, it's just a matter of the CRA being able to review your taxes to make sure you're staying compliant. So staying compliant definitely helps you out in the long run.
Okay. And how will they get in touch with you by letter? By they will send an email? They will send a SMS message? How they will get you?
Perfect. If they are a current client of ours, we have it through our website to send us an email directly and fill out a form where we can get in touch with them through the client portal. A ticket can be opened with our help desk where we do support any audits from CRA or IRS. But if they're in a rush, they got the letter from the CRA, they can simply give their account manager a call or send a quick email where we can look into their account to be able to support them with the audit. For any new clients who possibly are in an audit and need our support, we always need to be added as a representative. So that typically starts with a business consult or a personal tax consult with myself usually or our team, where we're able to find out more about their specific situation, spend 15 to 20 minutes getting to know the specific case, and then we laid out the next steps to get the necessary letters, the necessary access to CRA so we can represent them from start to finish.
Okay, Matthew. One more question about audit protection. If I get audited, what documents or records will the CRA ERS ask for, and how does M7 help me stay prepared?
That's a great question. And what documents is needed typically is very well listed and documented in the request from CRA. We are recently in a CRA audit with one of our clients, supporting them through the audit. They're a new client that came to us with an audit, and we're here to support them. And the CRA is asking for bank statements, they're asking for profit and loss statements, and even NOAs from their taxes from previous tax years filed. And they're also asking them for backup information on the claim that they're making on this CRA audit. So a lot of times, what is the CRA going to request? It's case by case basis, but what you do need is to keep yourself protected at all times, whether you're somebody on a personal level or on a business level. You have to keep your documentations of what you're writing off or what you're claiming on your tax return. So if you claimed medical bills, that means you're going to need the medical bills if you get a review for medical bills and any deductions related to that. If you are self-employed and you've declared an entire profit and loss showing all your revenue and all those expenses, let's say they're a delivery driver, they're declaring the fuel, the repairs, the office expenses, and any admin expenses, you need backup documentation for all of that. So the more documentation, the better. But often the CRA starts with bank statements and the top 10 expenses. And if they're questioning your income, the top 10 income as well, to make sure that there's no red flags on those information. If that's not enough, they just continue to dig deeper into it. Can be from start to finish. They could ask you for documentation.
Okay, thank you, Matthew. And now we are talking about trucking drivers, and the most of clients, M7 clients, are truck drivers, and we have some questions for make it clear for our customers, our the audience. And what's per diem, and how does it works for truck drivers?
Per diem is a term that comes from per day. just to make it clear so it's nice and easy to remember. And what do you get per day? The government essentially said if you're more than 160 kilometers away from home here in Canada, and if you are more than 24 hours away from home as a truck driver, that typically means somebody who's a long haul truck driver, cross border truck driver, and they are typically staying away from home for more than 24 hours. That means they are now eligible to be able to have 3 paid meals every single day that they're away from home, and that's 100% from the government. So for our Canadian clients, they get 3 meals of $23 Canadian dollars, meaning that they can have up to $69 per day as a per diem, a meals write off. In Canada, we even call it the meals and allowance, the meals and lodging allowance, and that's something that your accountant can support you with. But the $69 can be compounded for the entire period that you're away from home for the year. And for a lot of our clients, that's an extra $15,000 to $20,000 of expenses in meals alone and their taxes. And we've seen clients go from maybe just getting $1,000 back to $7,000 back just by having their meals in place. And the very important part of per diem is that if you are a cross-border truck driver, you're actually getting $23 USD for the time that you're away from home. And the 23 USD gets converted over to Canada. Now that meal can be worth close to $30, $31, and even a much bigger tax write-off for truck drivers specifically.
Okay. Matthew, how do I track my miles for tax deductions? What is required by ERS or CIA?
Perfect. And that's in addition to the per diem to make sure we don't miss it. People might be wondering, what do I need to be able to get the per diem write-off? And you need your logbooks. But if we backtrack quite a few years in the trucking industry, the logbooks sometimes were paper and they still allowed paper logbooks. People manually wrote down the days that they're away from home, the pickups, the drop-offs, and everything was on a paper basis. Now things have moved to ELD and electronic logbooks. So when you do have electronic logbooks, a lot of these big companies don't have the space to keep their logbooks saved for you forever. And a lot of times, once a quarter rolls around and maybe a few quarters into the year has rolled around, a lot of companies are deleting the logbooks that is records for you to use for your taxes. So to answer the question, you need your logbooks, but make sure you download the logbooks. Ask your dispatcher, ask the company you're working for to give you a PDF copy of your logbook so that you can send to your accountant and they can keep it saved so that once we get to the end of the year, we run no risk of losing those logbooks and we can maximize those deductions by making sure that we go through each page of that logbook and count all those meals that you're eligible for.
Okay. And can I deduct fuel, repairs, and maintenance of my truck? How do I track those property?
A lot of people ask us, what can I write off? I'm a truck driver. I need my accountant to tell me what I can write off. And definitely our team supports a lot of truck drivers, owner operators who do have questions on what to write off. But to keep things simple, yes, you can write off all those things you listed, the fuel, the repairs and maintenance, the office expenses, anything related to your business or to the work that you're doing is something that you can write off. So to simplify things, don't ask what you can write off. The better question is, what is needed for me to provide a service or to complete my service? In this case, hauling loads, moving from point A to point B. And that's going to be a business write-off as long as you keep the proper documentation, the bills, the receipts, the proof of payment. You make sure that you legitimately use it for business. And of course, at the end of the year, you prepare the necessary forms to take those deductions on your tax return. So anything business related can be used for your trucking business. You just need to keep the proper documentation and prepare it at the end of the year over to your accountants.
Okay. As an accountant, what's the best bookkeeping system for truck drivers? Manual logs, spreadsheets, or software?
So many people get stuck on oh, this system is not good for trucking, that system is not good for trucking, and I use no system all year round. And the worst system for trucking is the one that you don't keep any documentation, you don't track your profitability on a monthly basis. That's the worst one because you're really driving blind. You're going forward throughout the year and you have no idea where your business is lending. You don't know how much you're going to be owing in taxes or possibly getting back in taxes. So simple systems like QuickBooks, Wave, Odoo Accounting, Zero. There's so many systems out there that allows businesses to control their profitability. Is it the best for trucking? Not necessarily. Your logbooks are still going to be your logbooks. You're not going to have that in the app, but apps like QuickBooks, they actually let you do mileage tracking. So if you turn on the GPS of your phone, it tracks your trip from point A to point B and you can declare that trip as business. So at the end of the year, you actually get a full report of your mileage basis. QuickBooks is also great if you're having multiple trucks, multiple units. If you upgrade to higher packages, you can get classes as an option and you can actually split your expenses and your revenue by classes. And those classes can be trucks. So you can say truck one made this much this week, this many expenses, and the profitability was X amount. And you can do that for each truck so that every single month you know what truck is making you the most money. But sincerely, any system that allows you to control your invoices, deduct all your expenses, and keep track of those, sync to your bank accounts, and make sure that you can reconcile it every single month, which is what we help a lot of clients with, is going to be the best system for you because I can guarantee you not having a system in place, even if it's not trucking focused, trucking specific, good for truckers. Not keeping those records can cost you quite a bit more when you are not compliant. You go through so much more stress trying to get your taxes done on time at the end of the year. And a lot of times you lose receipts throughout the year, which is money that you lost coming back in your pockets.
Okay. Okay. Thanks for coming, and we are finishing our podcast with some answers. And next time we will coming with new questions, new informations for our clients. Thanks for watching.
Perfect. And like the Newsom said, our goal is to bring more information, more value, and bring as many questions answered to you guys. So from anybody watching, it could be one person, could be five, anybody that comes across this video, we want you to drop a like, comment on the video to make sure that we can get more ideas for our videos and bring the information that will help you guys succeed and stay organized this year ahead. So like always, keep supporting us. We're going to keep bringing as much information as we possibly can. And until next time.